Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is your boy, No Viewers here, with the cringiest intro ever, and I just wanted to do a quick video expressing my first impressions for Sonic Frontiers. Now, I'm going to be totally honest, I had pre-ordered this game about a week before it came out, and about two or three days before it came out, I decided, Spider-Man Miles Morales is coming out. I don't know if I'm going to have the money get Miles Morales, and I think that game is more important to me. I've played it one time on PS4, and I put 75, almost 80 hours in Spider-Man Remastered. It was a huge deal for me. I absolutely adored it. It's an amazing game, and I really think that playing it on PC just elevated it to a totally new level for me. So I decided to refund Sonic Frontiers and get Miles Morales, and then I just kind of stopped thinking about it. I watched some reviews. I knew that people thought, like, the general consensus was that this game was good, nothing groundbreaking, but it's one of the best Sonic games that we've had in a long time. And a lot of people might say, well, that's not really saying much, considering most of the recent Sonic games have been really bad, but I think this is a cut above. I'm going to be totally honest. This game is totally different than what I expected. I mean, I'm not saying that in every sense of the word, different, like, there are a lot of things that I expected to be this way. I saw the gameplay reveal, the running around and stuff, I knew what it looked like, I knew what some of the combat looked like, but just the way that the world is laid out, how much more full it feels. Yeah, it's not full of NPCs that you can talk to, but there's enemies everywhere, there's cool things to parkour on and skate on with your excellent Sonic shoes, and boosting everywhere. It's fun. This game saved boosting for me. I think that this is the best implementation of the boost mechanic that I've ever seen in a Sonic game. I'm not a big fan of boost in any of the other games because it just felt like it took away from the gameplay aspect of Sonic, right? Like, what was the point at that rate? It's basically just an on-the-rails game. You just hold X or square or whatever the boost key is on PC, and you would just let the game play itself. I mean, there was a little bit of effort that had to be involved, but for the most part, I think my enjoyment in previous Sonic games, since Generations at least, and not including Lost World or Sonic Rise of Lyric or whatever that one was called. I've only played Generations, and I've played Sonic Forces, and I've played Sonic Mania. Sonic Mania is an excellent 2D Sonic game, by the way. That was the game that really piqued my interest for Sonic. I made it to the very end. Very difficult game, but I absolutely adored it. Terrific 2D Sonic game, and guess what? It's not even made by Sega. It was made by a bunch of Sonic fans. So that really goes to show you something when the game made by a bunch of Sonic fans is so much more high quality than your recent releases. Now, not to say every Sonic game has been bad. I personally enjoyed Sonic Forces. I thought that it was a fun game. I enjoyed the cheesiness of it. I enjoyed being able to create a silly little character. And I just thought that it was fun. But I don't enjoy the boost mechanic. I just do not. Never have. Matter of fact, I got Sonic Unleashed some months back with the intention of playing it, because I got back into Sonic back in May, like hardcore. Started wanting to play all the games, really loving them, playing them a lot, but I couldn't play it. Like, I made it to the second or third Werehog mission, and I just stopped playing, because every 3D Sonic stage I didn't like, because it was just boosting everywhere. And then every stage with Werehog, I just thought was boring and way too long. So I really think the boost mechanic has definitely lessened my appreciation for these games, and Sonic Generations also has a lot of boosting, but that game is so much just filled with nostalgia that it kind of distracts from that. And Sonic Colors at the same time also, the last time I played it, I realized that I could kind of slow it down and take it more at my own pace. There's a lot of running really fast, but I don't remember if boosting is in Sonic Colors or not, but I remember thinking that you could take it a lot slower in that game compared to some of the other ones. So, I don't know if you've noticed the common theme of what I'm saying, but I think boost is bad, and this game makes boost excellent. Even in the 3D stages, they're all really short, so even though you are boosting a lot, you're boosting with this new boost mechanic, the one where you can actually still see what you're doing, and you have a lot better control of Sonic, right? And the other games, when you boost, you just totally lose control. So, they've already made it 10 times better. I mean, look at this. Look at all of this accuracy and control that we have here. It blows my mind. Thank you, Sega. You did a great job. So with all of that being said, my favorite thing of Sonic Generations and Forces both was the 2D Sonic levels. I love classic Sonic's 3D model. I love the 3D rendition of all of those stages. The 2.5D, I guess you could call it, because they're side-scroller missions, but they're still in 3D. But I love the ones with classic Sonic. Okay, now, the ones where you're playing as regular Sonic, a lot of the 3D stages have those too, like, built into them, which I also never really understood. Why do you have the classic Sonic missions that are in 2D, and then you have all of the 3D missions cut in half with 2D platforming? But, you know what, I could get over that because I enjoyed the 2D stuff. And this game makes me not want that as much. Now, don't get me wrong, I've seen some of the levels remade from other Sonic games in here, and I absolutely adore them. And I think that it would be great to have a modern, and I really hope Sega does this, a modern 2.5D Sonic game with the classic Sonic model, but graphics like this game has. Sega, please, Sonic Advance 3. Yeah, it can still be called Advance, even if it's not on the Game Boy, okay? Just do it. Sonic Advance 3 with the classic Sonic model, and, well, maybe not Sonic Advance 3 at that rate, because Advance was, the more modernized Sonic Adventure Sonic, but you know what I mean. I think that would be a great idea. So sorry for that little ramble on there, but, I guess the point I was trying to get across, of course, was that this game makes me enjoy 3D Sonic in a way no other 3D Sonic game ever has, except for Sonic Adventure 2. And I am of the opinion that that game has not aged very well in the control department. I still think Sonic Adventure 2 is an amazing game, but I played through the PC port back in 2019 and about lost my mind. I just didn't click with me the same way as it did when I was a kid, and it was a lot harder. Now, I love that game, don't get me wrong. The characters, the story, everything about it I adore. Graphics, I just cannot get behind the controls. And I honestly found myself in a similar position with Resident Evil 4, funnily enough. Which is, you know, you think when you're a kid, you play those games, and you don't really notice that. You just play it as it is, because that's how the game's made. But when you've been spoiled by the modern era of video games, I think that that really does affect some people's abilities to go back in time and revisit those older titles. So that's my biggest gripe with Sonic Adventure 2, but I do think it's an amazing 3D Sonic game. And so is Adventure 1, it just suffers from some of the same issues. And yeah, after that, the only other 3D Sonic game that I really have that much respect for is Generations and Forces. Like I said, I like Forces. Please don't come after me with your pitchforks. I know that's a very unpopular opinion. I saw a meme a couple days ago I thought was hilarious. It was all of the towns and the Simpsons, you know, the Simpsons movie where they're like chasing Homer, or they're coming to the Simpsons house with a bunch of pitchforks and torches and stuff. And the caption read, "The Sonic community to a Sonic Forces fan," or something like that. I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I like I said, I like Generations, and I liked Forces. I thought it was enjoyable for what it was, especially the classic Sonic stages. I really enjoyed. And that's pretty much it. I've not really enjoyed any other aspects of Sonic Generations. Sonic Forces I think I liked because it was so short anyway. If that game had been longer or padded down with extra stuff in it, I probably would have gotten sick of it. But it was like 3 hours long and I beat it, so there you go. That really helped a little bit. Well, really helped a little bit, like really is a... Yeah, anyway, it helped a lot, okay, is what I'm trying to say. And with all of that being said, now that you know my backstory and history with Sonic games and what I think of them, I just think this game is absolutely bananas good, okay? Like, I'm so blown away with the quality. Now, there are some issues with this game. Some pretty big ones. I'm not gonna sit here and act like it is a perfect game, because it is most definitely not. But here's what I think is good about the game. The soundtrack, banging. The graphics, for the most part, banging. The cutscenes, I wish they were banging. I'm gonna not talk about those yet because that's one of my biggest gripes of the game. The combat, fun. The running, banging. The 3D Sonic stages, exactly what I love. Pulled from the 3D games, but made better in every way. It makes them enjoyable for me. And the story is great. Like, I'm kind of surprised. The story doesn't really present itself to you that much. You do a lot of extra stuff in this game. You're not just constantly sitting there being fed the story. You get it in little bits and pieces as you make progress, but there's a lot of extra content in the game to do. And I spent like a good 2 hours doing side quests and stuff. Unknowingly, I just thought I was doing the right thing, and, well, I guess technically I was, right? Because the game wants you to do all that. So, Yeah, the story is really interesting. I like the way it's going. I think it might be a little predictable. I feel like I know what the twist is going to be. I'm not sure, but just the way that the ancestors to those little stone statues were, or whatever their spirit form was, or them in the past before they were turned into those little statues, look an awful lot like a certain Sonic boss from a certain Sonic Adventure game, okay? So, I think it'd be cool if it tied back into those games somehow, but if not, the story is still very good. I enjoy it quite a bit. Now, some of my negatives. First off, I'll mention this cutscenes because that's the first thing that I brought up a second ago, or one of the first things I mentioned that I knew was just gonna be a sore spot for me. And the cutscenes are really bad. Okay, they look like they're rendering at a lower resolution than the game. I'm playing the game at 1080p high. Okay, and Linux, by the way. I mostly play my stuff in Linux. And the game has been running great in Linux. I have some videos coming up on that too, some gameplay showcase and stuff like that. But I guess this could substitute for that until then, because this is gameplay in Linux. And I don't think that it's a Linux issue, but the cutscenes look like they're rendering at like 720p, and they all run at 30 FPS. It's just so much lower quality than the rest of the game, and it blows my mind that with everything else being as good as it is in this game, that Sega would have really terrible quality cutscenes. But that was one of the first things I noticed. Matter of fact, that was one of the things that led me to want to refund the game before it came out. Now, like I said, when I made that decision, I didn't think I was going to get to play this game, but fortunately, I got a little bit of money, I was able to buy it, and I figured I would just take the plunge. But when I refunded it, it was for two reasons. One, a spoiler that I'm not going to say, I heard something about the zones that was unpleasing to me, and two, I saw some cutscenes and some character model and details, I guess you could say, of the character models, and they just didn't look nearly as good as the gameplay would lead you to believe. And I was like, wow, this game looked so much more realistic and smooth and different from the other games. But then when you see those cutscenes, I mean, it kind of looks like Sonic Adventure 2 all over again. Yes, it obviously looks better, but it doesn't look nearly as good as the actual open world gameplay sections or the 3D missions. It just doesn't. Or the 2D ones. I don't know why the cutscenes look so bad, but they do. And I think it'd be nice if Sega released a higher definition pack, even if they have to make it optional for people. Go ahead, I'd be totally fine with that. My other negatives mainly stem from control and camera issues. This game has got some funkiness going on, okay? I wish I could show it to you here. It'll be present in my other video. Oh, we ran into a boss. It'll be present in my other video. Maybe this will be able to showcase some of it. Am I supposed to get on these? Oh. Yeah, okay, well. So basically, you'll sit there, and you'll be climbing a gigantic fort, right? Trying to get to the top. There's like a Chaos Emerald at the top or something that you need to do. And you'll get to a certain part of it, and the camera will shift direction just slightly. And all of a sudden, the left analog stick is no longer moving you in the direction that it's supposed to be moving you in. Little things like that throw you off. You fall back off to the very bottom and have to make your way up that entire structure again. That is not fun, okay? And some of these bosses, you have to climb them, like that game where you climb the Titans. I can't remember what it's called, something like that. It was a very popular PS2 game. It got remastered on the PS4. It was a very, very pretty game. Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus, that's what I'm thinking about. This game has moments like that in it, where you're doing the same thing that you do in that game. And it's funny, because I was just thinking about it. I remember the controls in Shadow of the Colossus being pretty wacky, too, okay? Far from perfect. And this game basically not only copied the climbing the Titan mechanic, but also copied the bad controls mechanic, okay? I don't know how they got it wrong. It's not as bad as climbing some of those structures, I gotta admit. But it's still far from perfect. And aside from that, when I say camera issues, there is this really bad part of the Giganto, or Gigante, whatever his name is, boss fight, which I have a boss guide coming up for, because I had no idea how to beat him for a little bit there, but I finally figured it out. Where if he knocks you back, he'll like swing at you, he'll knock you back, and you get flung really far out of the map. And the game will not let your camera turn around for many seconds. So if you start moving back towards the boss, which I think anybody would naturally, right? Because you want to get back into the action, then you will be punished for it because the camera does not turn. You cannot see what the boss is doing. It will literally just punch you right back out of the air. That happened to me like 5 times. I was so frustrated by it, but that was the most egregious moment where the camera really let me down. I just they could have just had it center right back on the boss instantly if they had wanted to, and I really hope that they patched that out because boy was that no fun. Okay, let's just put it that way. Aside from that, there are a couple times in the game where the camera will lock into place and will just do its own thing. I don't really know why necessarily. It's a little frustrating. But I'd say for the most part, when you're in the open world, just running around, the camera's fine. It has its moments where it is not perfect, but it's mostly in that boss fight and some platforming sections where you're like climbing towers and stuff. It can definitely rear its ugly head. But other than that, I guess one more thing that I'll comment is the combat. A lot of people really seem to dislike it. I don't personally care. I think the combat is very simple. I don't think that it necessarily needs to be complex. I enjoy it for what it is. It could definitely be more complex if it wanted to be, but yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. It's perfectly serviceable combat. And then again, I'm only on the second zone, so maybe the game will get a lot more repetitive. But for now, it doesn't bother me. And there's a nice little bit of variety there. So I've been enjoying myself. And yeah, well, what else can we talk about? All the characters are here that we love. I've only ran into Amy and Knuckles. I can't wait to meet Tails and the rest of the gang. But they're all as cool as they would be under any circumstance because they're really, really good video game characters. So definitely am not going to be hating on them. And aside from that, I guess my closing thoughts will just be that I think this game is a banger. I so far would give it like a 9 out of 10. From the 5 hours that I've put into it, I definitely think it's a 9 out of 10 for me personally. I think it is a great Sonic game, a great platforming game, a great action game. It just covers so many points that I would have never expected it to. And I think that Sega has definitely taken a step in the right direction when it comes to not only quality control, but just sheer amount of content, everything. Graphics, they have just stepped ahead. In my opinion, a huge leap forward from what they had done with Sonic Forces, and I have to applaud them for that, Sega. I think you did an excellent job with this game. Thank you for finally giving us a good 3D Sonic game. I cannot wait to see what the future has in stock for Sonic. Hopefully we get a nice 2.5D Sonic game, and maybe Sonic Frontiers will get a sequel one day. And you know, if it's anything like this game, then I think it would at least be worth playing once. So fingers crossed it comes out and it's good. And with all of that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed my first impressions video. I hope that I said everything in a coherent manner, one that you can understand and appreciate. I hope that you learned something new about the game, and maybe that since you've seen this video, you'd like to try it yourself. I definitely recommend it. $60 is quite a bit to pay for a video game, yes, but I think you're definitely getting your hands on a good product here. It is a very fun video game, hands down. Yeah, so I guess with that being said, I am going to sign off here in a moment. I was going to show a little bit of combat and stuff, but you kind of got to see it there with the boss fight. That's basically what it's like with most enemies. I have an upgrade that allows me to do different types of attacks without having to actually press the button, so it's just totally automatic. So you saw me like zigzagging around or stomping and stuff. If you ever see that, that's what that is. But those are just their own moves separately. And yeah, with all of that being said, everybody, I am going to sign off. I hope that you enjoyed the video, and if you would like to help my YouTube channel grow, please turn on notifications so you don't miss future uploads after you hit that subscribe button. And be sure to leave a like and engage with each other in the comments down below in a friendly manner. Let's get some conversations going about how we think of this game, what we think of it, I guess would be a better way to phrase it, and I don't know. If you just have any comments about the video, you want to let me know what you think, be sure to do that down below. And I will see you all very soon. Very soon, very soon, very soon. Yeah, anyway, see you guys.